Have you ever replayed the same conversation over and over again? Maybe someone replied with just one word. Maybe they looked at you differently. Maybe they paused before answering. And ever since then, your mind has refused to let it go. You tell yourself you'll stop thinking about it. But 5 minutes later, you're right back where you started, running through every possibility, every sentence, every mistake. Most people think overthinking happens because we think too much. But what if that's completely wrong? What if overthinking isn't your brain attacking you? What if it's your brain trying to protect you? The strange part is, your brain doesn't actually know whether the danger is real. It treats uncertainty like a problem that must be solved. And that's where everything begins. Because once you understand what your brain is really trying to do, overthinking starts looking completely different. Let's start with something surprising. Your brain is not designed to understand the world. It's designed to predict it. Every second of your life, your brain is quietly asking the same question. What happens next? When you're walking down the stairs, it predicts where your next step will land. When someone starts speaking, it predicts what they're about to say. When you're driving, it predicts where every car around you is going. Most of the time, these predictions happen so quickly that you never notice them, until something unexpected happens. Someone doesn't reply to your message. A friend suddenly acts differently. Your boss says, "We need to talk tomorrow." And suddenly your brain changes. It stops making tiny predictions. It starts building big ones. Maybe I did something wrong. Maybe they're upset. Maybe something bad is about to happen. None of these thoughts are facts. They're guesses. But your brain treats every guess like it could be important. Why? Because thousands of years ago, guessing wrong could get you killed. Imagine you're walking through a forest. You hear something moving behind the trees. Your brain has two choices. Ignore it, or assume there's danger. If it's just the wind, nothing happens. But if it's a predator and you ignore it, your story ends there. Your ancestors survived because their brains learned one simple rule. It's better to worry about something that isn't there than ignore something that is. That rule kept humans alive for thousands of years. The problem is, your brain still follows that same rule today, only the predators have changed. Instead of hearing movement in the forest, you hear silence after sending a message. Instead of watching for wild animals, you watch for changes in someone's voice. Instead of searching the trees, you search your own memories. Did they always talk like that? Why did they smile differently? Why did they stop replying? The danger isn't outside anymore. It's inside your thoughts. And here's where overthinking quietly begins. Most people believe overthinking starts with negative thoughts. Psychologists believe it starts much earlier. It starts with uncertainty. Think about a jigsaw puzzle with one piece missing. Even if the picture is almost complete, your eyes keep returning to the empty space. Your brain hates unfinished patterns. It wants the missing piece. The same thing happens with unanswered questions. Why did they say that? What did they really mean? Did I make the wrong decision? Your brain treats every unanswered question like a puzzle waiting to be completed. It keeps searching because it believes the answer is out there somewhere. Maybe one more thought, maybe one more memory, maybe one more possibility. Surely then everything will make sense. But here's the trap. Every new possibility creates another question. What if that's not what happened? What if I missed something? What if there's another explanation? Instead of solving uncertainty, your brain accidentally creates even more of it. And without realizing it, you've entered a loop. The more uncertain you feel, the more you think. And the more you think, the more uncertain you become. It's almost like trying to escape quicksand. Every movement feels like progress, but every movement pulls you deeper. And the strangest part is, your brain thinks it's helping you the entire time. It honestly believes that if it keeps searching just a little longer, it will finally find the answer that brings peace. But that's not what usually happens, because the real reason overthinking refuses to stop has nothing to do with finding answers. It has everything to do with something your brain wants even more: certainty. That's what your brain has been chasing all along. Not the perfect answer, not the perfect decision, just the feeling that everything makes sense again. The strange part is, certainty feels safe. Uncertainty doesn't. Imagine your phone rings in the middle of the night. You see one missed call. No message, no explanation. How long would it take before your mind started filling in the blanks? Probably not very long. Maybe it was an emergency. Maybe someone dialed by mistake. Maybe they need help. Maybe something happened to a family member. Notice what your brain is doing. It doesn't like empty spaces, so it starts creating possibilities. At first, that seems helpful. After all, planning for different situations can be useful, but overthinking doesn't stop after 2 or 3 possibilities. It keeps going. What if it was this? No. What if it was that? Maybe I forgot something. Maybe I should call. Maybe I shouldn't. Every new thought creates another question, and before long, you're no longer searching for the truth. You're searching for certainty, but certainty is almost impossible to find, especially when the future hasn't happened yet. This is why overthinking often feels endless. You're trying to answer a question that doesn't have an answer yet. Psychologists have noticed something interesting. People who overthink don't always remember more. They often remember differently. Imagine 2 friends leaving the same conversation. One remembers laughing together. The other remembers a 2-second pause before someone answered. Most people naturally focus on the bigger picture. An overthinking brain zooms in, almost like a camera lens. It starts examining tiny details. The pause, the expression, the choice of words, the message that ended with a period instead of an emoji. None of these details prove anything, but together they begin telling a story. And here's something your brain rarely tells you. A story isn't the same as reality. The human brain is incredibly good at finding patterns. That's one of its greatest strengths. It's how we recognize faces, learn languages, solve problems, and understand other people. But the same ability can sometimes work against us. Because once your brain notices one pattern, it immediately starts looking for another. Imagine you think your friend sounded distant today. Suddenly your brain begins collecting evidence. They replied later than usual. They didn't laugh at your joke. They seemed distracted. They ended the conversation early. One by one, these observations start fitting together. But here's the problem. Your brain is only collecting one side of the story. It quietly ignores everything that doesn't match the pattern. Maybe your friend was simply tired. Maybe they had a stressful day. Maybe they were thinking about something completely unrelated. Your brain doesn't always search for what's true. It often searches for what fits. That's why 2 people can experience the exact same situation and reach completely different conclusions. One person thinks, they're probably just busy. The other thinks, they must be upset with me. Same event, different story. And the story your brain chooses changes how you feel. The strange thing is, your emotions don't wait for proof. They respond to the story. If your brain believes something bad might happen, your body reacts as if it's already happening. Your heart beats faster. Your muscles tighten. You feel restless. Not because danger is real, because your brain thinks it might be. And once those feelings appear, your mind makes another mistake. It assumes the feelings must mean something. If I feel anxious, there must be a reason. So it starts searching even harder. More memories, more conversations, more possibilities. Without realizing it, anxiety becomes fuel for more thinking, and more thinking creates more anxiety. Round and round the cycle goes. It's easy to believe the answer is to think harder, but that's exactly what keeps the cycle alive, because overthinking isn't powered by a lack of intelligence. In fact, many people who overthink are extremely good at noticing details. The real problem is that every detail feels equally important. Your brain struggles to decide what can safely be ignored. So instead, it tries to understand everything. Every conversation, every decision, every mistake, every possibility. But life doesn't work that way. Some questions don't have immediate answers. Some never will. And that's something your brain finds incredibly difficult to accept, because it still believes that somewhere, hidden beneath one more thought, one more memory, one more possibility, is the certainty it's been searching for all along. But what if certainty was never something your brain could actually find? What if it was chasing something that doesn't really exist? Because the final piece of this puzzle isn't about your thoughts. It's about why your brain learned to fear uncertainty in the first place. To understand that, we have to go back thousands of years. Imagine you're one of the first humans. The sun is setting, your group is preparing to sleep. But before you close your eyes, you hear something moving outside. Was it the wind, or was it a predator? You don't know, but your brain doesn't have time to wait for certainty. It has to make a decision now. If you assume everything is fine and you're wrong, you might not wake up. But if you assume danger is nearby and you're wrong, you lose a little sleep. One mistake could cost your life. The other costs almost nothing. So your brain learned a simple rule. When you're unsure, prepare for the worst. That rule helped humans survive for thousands of years. And believe it or not, your brain still follows that same rule today. The world has changed, but your brain hasn't changed nearly as much. Today, the predators rarely have sharp teeth. Sometimes they're unanswered messages, sometimes they're awkward conversations, sometimes they're uncertain futures. Your brain reacts to all of them in surprisingly similar ways. Not because they're equally dangerous, because they all create uncertainty. And uncertainty still feels like a threat. This explains something that confuses many people. Why can a tiny problem keep you awake all night, even when you know it probably isn't a big deal? Because your thinking brain and your survival brain are not always having the same conversation. One part of you says, it's probably nothing. The other says, but what if it isn't? And the survival brain usually speaks louder. The strange part is, overthinking almost never changes the future. It only changes your experience of the present. While your body sits safely in your room, your mind is fighting problems that don't even exist yet. Hours pass, nothing happens, but your brain stays busy anyway, because it believes staying alert is keeping you safe. Here's something fascinating. People often think the opposite of overthinking is positive thinking. It isn't. The opposite of overthinking is acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means accepting that some questions cannot be answered today. Some conversations won't make complete sense. Some people won't explain why they changed. Some decisions will always involve risk. And that's okay. Your brain doesn't like hearing that. It wants certainty. But life rarely offers certainty. It offers possibilities. The people who seem calm all the time aren't necessarily better at solving every problem. Very often, they're simply better at living with unanswered questions. They know when to stop searching. Not because they found every answer, because they realized another hour of thinking wouldn't create one. That might be the hardest lesson your brain ever learns. Sometimes peace doesn't come from understanding everything. Sometimes peace comes from deciding that understanding everything isn't necessary. Maybe that's why the hardest question isn't, how do I stop overthinking? Maybe it's, can I be okay without knowing? Because once your brain realizes it doesn't need every answer, something unexpected happens. It finally becomes quiet. Not because every problem disappeared, because every question stopped feeling like an emergency. And maybe that's the real psychology of overthinking. It isn't a sign that you're weak, it isn't proof that you're broken, and it doesn't mean you're thinking the wrong way. It's a survival system doing exactly what it was designed to do. The problem is that it was designed for a world where uncertainty often meant danger. Today, uncertainty is everywhere. You can't predict every conversation. You can't control every outcome. You can't know what everyone is thinking. And you were never supposed to. Maybe real peace doesn't begin when your mind finally finds certainty. Maybe it begins the moment you stop asking your brain to find something that has never truly existed. Because overthinking was never really searching for answers. It was searching for safety. And sometimes, the safest thing you can do is let the question remain unanswered. Thank you for watching Porous Psychology.